See, as she reminds me. Welcome again, everyone, to the Youth Apprenticeship Open House for the Renton School District and AJAC Youth Apprenticeship Programs. My name's Tracy Turcott. I'm the Youth Apprenticeship Manager for AJAC, and I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about who we are here in a second. I'm going to share my screen here, and hopefully everything works because that's what we like. All right. Terry, Amy, do I look good? Can you see the screen? Apprenticeship Ready program. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. This is a little bit of a weird year for us because we usually do these talks in the spring when we're at classes, but with COVID and everything last year, we really weren't able to get some students involved in the program like we want by this fall. So we're doing a talk this fall to get you guys some more information that's here. We've got a few people here that are from AJAC and then also from the Renton School District that we'll hear from in a little bit when we're talking about it. But we first have our instructor, Creed Tremaine Nelson, who's on the line, and he'll tell us a little bit more about class later on. Terry Derrick works with the Renton School District. She's our fantastic Career Connect, Worksite Learning, apprenticeships, internships. She knows everything about anything work related. So she's going to talk to us a little bit more about Worksite Learning. We also have Amy Suter, who's here with us from AJAC. She's our Regional Program Manager. When it comes to the job piece, that's where Amy comes in. She works with employers all around the King County area, and she's the one who helps to link you to them. So without further ado, we will get things started. But if you just jumped on again, just make sure to put your name, your school, and your grade in the chat box here. So just to tell you a little bit more about who we are and what we do is we are AJAC. We're the Aerospace Joint Apprenticeship Committee. Now, what we've done is we've been around for about 13 years, and we're a nonprofit agency that works to provide apprenticeship education with small to medium-sized advanced manufacturing companies. Now, you see in our name, it says aerospace, and generally that's the first thing people think of is, you know, it's just aerospace manufacturing or apprenticeship. When I started about 5.5 years ago, it was pretty much about 75% aerospace and 25% advanced manufacturing. Now it's probably pretty flush, about 50-50 when it comes to aerospace manufacturers and advanced manufacturing, because there's a lot of diversified occupations that we work with, and that's the work of the AJAC team, getting a lot of those companies on board. So a lot of times people look at us and they look at the color and they look at our logos, and we're asked a lot of times, are you guys Boeing? Are you related to Boeing? We say, we're kind of a cousin to Boeing, and our Boeing partners will say that too. And the reason why I say that, because 13, 14 years ago, Boeing helped us by going to the state and saying, hey, let's help to get AJAC off the floor, give them funding to start this apprenticeship education. And the reason why is we work with those small to medium-sized companies. And a lot of those in aerospace are small companies. And what they do is they provide parts that go onto Boeing planes. And a lot of people will think out there that Boeing just puts together the planes and puts everything on those planes, but that's actually not true. Those small to medium-sized companies might find a little caveat of one part or one system that goes into Boeing planes. And then for that, they have a whole workforce that they have to employ to get those parts on planes. And those small to medium-sized companies that work around the Northwest here, you know, some of them are union, some of them aren't. We're a nice Switzerland entity that we get to work with both of them. But a lot of them don't have the overhead for continuing education programs. So AJAC comes in with our nonprofit to provide that education when it comes to apprenticeship. Now, when you look at us around the state, we are a statewide collective. We do work in Northern Idaho. We also work down into Portland, but we are employer driven. And what it means by that is that we actually work with the employers and we ask them, you know, how do we help to make sure you guys have a skilled workforce, obviously by apprenticeship education. And I'm going to talk about what apprenticeship is in just a couple minutes. But here's how it works with our employers. So we have a company that's in different areas there, and we're going to take Bike and Metals. Bike and Metals works in Renton, has employed youth in the Renton area. So what Amy's job is as a regional program manager, she goes to Bike and Metals and she talks with their team there to find out who they would like to put through apprenticeship training. Bike and Metals then nominates people to go through our apprenticeship program. Generally, employers might wait 6 months, they might wait 3 months, but they nominate those people they know that are going to stay and they're going to be a valued member on that shop floor to go through those apprenticeship programs. It's a little different if you're used to apprenticeship or if you've heard the term apprenticeship when it comes to some of the other trades, where if an individual says, hey, I want to be a welder, they go into a union hall, they do a little test, they apply, They go to work for a few months, then they go to apprenticeship class. They go to work and they do apprenticeship class. Here, the employers are that's our customer. That's how we drive our forces that are out there. Currently, we have about over 250 employers statewide, and you can see on the map, you guys are in the dense area in Renton. That's a huge part of the valley right there. There's a lot of manufacturing. And we have about 350 adult apprentices. And of the 350 adult apprentices, I think we're at like 30% right now are youth or youth that were in the program that are now adults, which is cool. We're seeing a lot more youth going into our programs that are there. So let's talk about what is apprenticeship. I know you can nod your head when I ask you this, but how many of you guys have heard of the term apprenticeship? Or how many of you guys know someone who's been in an apprenticeship? Apprenticeship's basic description or definitive example of what that is paid on the job training. And I always laugh when I'm at a classroom at 7:30 in the morning and I say, who wants to hear about paid on the job training? And everybody wakes up and they're good to go. But what it looks like is it is where you're working at a work site, and that's where your classroom is now at. Now, here's what it looks like when it scales to looking at what's class, what's shop time, how does that look? On a scale of 100%, 93% of your time is going to be on the job training. So that's where, in this case of a machining apprenticeship, you would be working on a shop floor. Your teachers are now going to be mentors that are journeymen that are in the industry. So you're going to be working one-on-one with these people throughout different aspects of the shop. Now that can be in any industry out there, but it is pretty much a rule of 93% of on-the-job training. Now 7% of your time is going to be related supplemental instruction. We call that RSI. And that's that college theory class that's there to help support that 93% of on-the-job training. So you have class time, and then you have on-the-job training, and that's how the year pretty much looks. I'm sorry, how much your time looks like when it comes to apprenticeship. Some of the benefits of an apprenticeship are this, is you have one-on-one mentorship. You know, that's sometimes what's really, really attractive to people going into apprenticeship is that you get to work with these skilled tradespeople and learning their craft in that smaller demographic of an area. If you're in a registered apprenticeship in Washington State, you do get reduced tuition. So if you are working at a shop and you're in one of their apprenticeship programs, you're able to go through and do classes, and those classes are already at a 50% reduced rate. Now, with a lot of our employers, what they do is they actually help to reimburse you with that tuition. And I would say it's probably about 85% of our employers right now that do that. So if you've got good attendance, good grades, they're going to help you with that college tuition. Wage progression in a registered apprenticeship in Washington State, you also get wage progression. So at a certain percentage of time going through your apprenticeship, you get a wage bump, which is nice. And the finishing part of an apprenticeship is called your journeyman's card. So while you're an apprenticeship, you're an apprentice. When you graduate, you're called a journeyman. So your journey card is like your bachelor's degree. And that's what you would use when you go to any job site or any area. If you're in a registered apprenticeship in different states, those are nationally certified cards, and you can use those in different states to show what you're trained in that's out there. You know, the biggest things that are out there is looking at where the needs are when it comes to advanced manufacturing. And I get asked this a lot of times, what denotes an advanced manufacturing title? And that's really manufacturing shops that are working with advanced technology. So they're working with a lot more of the cutting edge equipment that you'll see out there. And I would probably say any manufacturer out there is pretty much an advanced manufacturing shop of all the things that are out there. So when we started, 12, 13 years ago, we started with a couple of basic jobs that were out there. So we worked with those manufacturing companies and said, hey, what are the things that you want us to train your shop people on? So here are some of these that are listed up here to kind of give you an idea. So you'll see that there's an hours and then there's years. So the hours are the on-the-job training piece. That's when you train and you're clocking hours to get towards your journeyman's card. The years that are in between is how long it takes you to do that. So I always tell people to get you kind of a scheme of things. If you were to work full time for 1 year, that's going to be about 2,000 hours, 2,040 hours, give or take a week here and there. Now, the first one that's most popular, I'm actually going to go down to the second one right there. That's our machinist. It's an 8,000 hour on-the-job training program, and it takes 4 years to do. Now, the machinist is going to be the person that makes parts that go out into the real world today. That's going to be the person that works on mills, lathes, CNC machines. If you look around your room, a lot of the things that came out of your room or you're looking at today came from a machinist. So they're working on aerospace, they're working on construction parts, they're working in healthcare, food processing, they're working in space, all of those different parts that are out there. A tool and die maker is a little bit more on the technical side. They're the ones that are making the tools and the dies that go into the machines, that go into the parts that go out for a machinist. That one's a 10,000-hour program, and it takes about 5 years to do. Now, the plastics process technician is something that's getting very popular right now, especially in the aerospace and the healthcare industry. But it's taking a machinist, and instead of working on materials like, aluminum, steel, titanium, they're now working on plastics. And so you'll see a lot more people that have shops that have one side that's purely metals and one side that's purely plastics, and a lot of them don't combine that are out there. The industrial maintenance technician, which is again a 8,000-hour program, and it's 4 years. So that is the person that's working on the machines. So if you're a machinist, you're making parts. If you're an IMT, industrial maintenance technician, you're the mechanical person. So this is someone who likes mechatronics, machinery, likes to build engines, working on those kind of those facets right there. We have a newer program that's coming up as a CNC programmer. So say if you're really good with computers, you like to draw code, you like to put a lot of that into the design process when it comes into there, the CNC programmer is one of our occupations that ties into a machinist. And now the next two, actually 3 that are down below, what those are the ones that we have for people that are graduating or students that are still in high school. So we have the industrial manufacturing technician, which is 3,000 hours or 18 months. So this is for someone who's just entering into manufacturing, or maybe someone who's just graduated from high school. So if we have an employers like Bike and Metals that comes to us and says, hey, listen, we just hired somebody from Lindbergh High School and they took some shop classes there. They want to get into manufacturing. So we want to start them in an entry-level apprenticeship. That's where the industrial manufacturing technician is going to come into place there. So it's a beginning, very shallow level apprenticeship that they would look at. Or if it's someone who's switching, switching industries, and say if they have the resources to provide this program, they can give them that 18 months of education before they go on to one of the more advanced apprenticeships that are out there. So today we're talking about our youth apprenticeship programs, and that's our last bullet point. That's the production and automation technician. So those are 2,000 hours. They take about 18 months. We say about a year and a half because you're in and out of school working. And that's for youth and high school students. Now we say youth and high school because students can take a production or an automation technician program up to the time they're about 21. That's been recently changed, was just nice. But a lot of times these are the ones that we use with our local high school programs for them to get a nice shallow entry-level look into apprenticeship. For you guys, we're going to talk about the production one, which is it's a mini machinist, as I like to say. So if you like that, when I talked about machining and working with mills and lathes and all of that stuff, that's really what that production technician is going to do that's there. So who really goes into apprenticeships? Like who really drives there? It's that student. I say hands-on learning. I've been at some different open houses and seminars myself, and they're like, we got to stop saying hands-on learning. But it really is. It's that student that says, hey, I like the textbook, but when I get to do one-on-one, I'm in a small classroom. When I get to try things, try a trade, that's when I learn the best. That's really what students get attracted to apprenticeship. Now, we've been in the adult arena for 13 years, and 4 years ago, we were able to partner with local high schools where we can get students registered apprenticeship hours while they're in school or after they graduate. So they're getting that jump ahead of their education and not being able to look at maybe college isn't for them. Maybe they want to work. And we get a lot of students that come to us because they just want to work. And so that's why we're really pushing for these opportunities to happen here in high school. Now, our high school programs that we offer around the state, there's a lot of different ones. We have about 13 schools districts that we work with. Renton came on to us after the second year of doing this program. We launched it at Hazen High School, and then we moved it the second year over to Lindbergh High School, where it continues to thrive over there. But really, it was the employers came to us also and said, hey, we want to get employees while they're younger. And there's 2 reasons. Number one, you guys are like sponges. You've been in school for, 10, 11, 12 years. So you've been learning that whole time. So to try to teach you a lot of this stuff, it comes a little easier than having someone go into school that's, 30, 40 years old. The second thing is that you also live in a whole different technology industry than some of us that have been working for 30, 40 years. So they want to hear a little bit about what you have to offer and knowing about technology. And I say that because the picture that you see here is Raquel Tejido. She is one of our first youth apprentices. She's the first female youth apprentice to graduate from our program. Excuse me. And she's a graduate from Stadium High School. She is doing engineering classes right now. And she worked at Tool Gauge, and she still works at Tool Gauge years later. We see her all the time down there. But when we did a tour with the school district down there, one of the programmers came up and said, I just want you guys to know, I've been doing this for 25, 30 years. She's teaching me things. So you guys as youth come with a different aspect of technology that really helps these employers to open their eyes about what's going on in manufacturing out there. So now we used to do with our program, it was a youth apprenticeship, and now we're moving it more to apprenticeship ready. In the state, there's not really a youth apprenticeship, there's apprenticeship in the high school. But what we wanted to do is talk to our employers, look at the situation of COVID, also with the aerospace industry having a little bit of uncertainty. What do we need to do in high schools right now to get students so they can still get the opportunity of apprenticeship and then get that employment time under their belt? So we're looking at an apprenticeship ready program, and it's a 2-step program right now. And I'll talk about, it used to be 3 steps, and I'll talk about that at the end. I don't want to confuse anybody. But the first part is classroom instruction, and then industry experience. And then for step 2, it's apprenticeships or college. So we train you in a classroom, open you up for some industry experience, get you hired. And then the second step is finishing that on-the-job training experience of what that looks like. So when COVID hit, we had a lot of employers that had to buckle down. So there was layoffs, some companies shut down totally. So unfortunately, some of our students got laid off. So what we really looked at is how do we keep programs going instead of just saying, oh, there's no jobs out there, let's not do anything. So what we did is we can front load the classroom experience for you. So that way you get something to put on your resumes. We just had our students from last year go through a job open house experience with Amy. And what we're doing is, she's now looking at her employer saying, hey, we're ready to hire people. So those students that had class experience last year are now working with Amy to go in front of employers. We have about 3 students that were from Renton that went to the session. So we got a couple of them that popped up, which is really great. So what does apprenticeship ready look like? So here's the first thing. Step 1 is AJAC classes. And so here is where we talk about how do we get you ready for that 7% college class experience. So we start off with your related supplemental classes in the fall at participating school districts. That's on the next slide. I think I took that out anyways, but it's 3 college level classes. There are 15 college credits. And then after your first trimester for Renton School District students, you do get to have some industry exposure. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So what does the classes look like for Renton School District? So that means classes are held at Lindbergh High School in the Woodshop. Instructors Creed, Tremaine, Nelson. I'm always bad about putting Nelson before Tremaine. I made sure to double check on this one, but they'll just kind of go Creed and I just don't say his last name. Classes are every Thursday from 3:30 to 7:30 all school year. You bring your stack dinner for class. If you will miss a class, you need to talk to Mr. Nelson about how to make it up. Mr. Nelson is on the call. I'm going to call him out for a second just to say hi and introduce himself. Creed, welcome. And he has been, this is going to be your 3rd round of teaching for us, I think?
Yeah, hi, Tracy, thank you. Yeah, this is my 3rd year running the program for the district, teaching the program for the district. And I always tell my students that I have by far the best job in my school, probably in the district, but this is like the highlight. This is the sort of cherry on the top, is being able to work with this program. I just absolutely love working with this program. Like Tracy has up here, we're going to be meeting on Thursdays we can work out the schedule, whether it's 3 or 3:30.
Right.
And we go until about 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock. We will have dinner. We'll have a half-hour break in the middle there for dinner. But it's really a terrific class, really a terrific program for the right students. I just had a student, Casey Reel, came back and saw me today in class. And Casey was in our program 2 years ago, graduated last year from high school. And through this program now, he's working to get employed at Boeing. So he really has a plan for himself, and a lot of that has to do because of this AJAC program. So it is a really terrific program, and I look forward to getting to know a lot of you and to be able to work with you and to help you grow in this field, because there are so many opportunities out there for you. This is really a great opportunity for those that want to go into work, like to work with their hands. It's just wide open for you.
That's great. Thank you. See, and I didn't even prep them for this. I literally just put them on the spot. I love that. We've got a couple of great employers around the area for the Renton students. Out of the Box Manufacturing is doing a big piece about the 2 youth that are now adults that are working there that were a part of the class that Creed was talking about. So it's great to see them doing some good stuff there. And I think you guys are right. I think their class is 3 to 7. That could have been my typo that was on there. So you talk about it. They figure it out in class. It all works out there. So what does the classes look like? So for the production technician classes that Creed teaches is there's 3 classes they're going to go throughout the year. And again, it's every Thursday night. So there's the 3 classes that we have for that production technician, which is that entry level machinist job. There's engineering drawings 103, precision machining 101, and precision machining 102. So I'm going to put Creed back on the spot for this one to help us with a little bit of an overview of the classes, because he does such a better job of talking about it than I do. But, you know, these were also the classes that when we talked to our employers and said, if we're going to launch a youth high school program, what does it look like? And they said, these are the basic classes that they first really need to understand learning about manufacturing and being a machinist. But Creed, what are some of the highlights of these 3 classes that you teach?
So the first one, the engineering drawing, that's pretty serious work of going through, let me see, I've got the book in front of me here, but it's fairly serious work going through, I get a decent drawing, here we go, here's a great one. Going through and understanding technical drawings such as this one, if you can see that on your screen right there. Being able to understand all the different symbols and lines and where everything's going. The reason is because then you're going to start getting some experience being in a shop, and they're going to be handing you drawings, and you're going to be expected to be working on parts of some sort. And the expectation is you're coming in there with some prior knowledge as to how to be able to read these drawings. They can be fairly technical, but we have lots of time to go through for you to be able to understand it. It is a more classroom-based one, but the time goes really fast as we're going through that. Then the precision machining, so that would take up probably the first trimester until, say, December or so. Then the precision machining 1 and the precision machining 2 is when we start working more in the shop and actually working on metal, working on the lathes, working on the mills. Here's an example of one of the first projects you do. It's a little bench block that you have to turn on the lathe and then be able to drill out all these holes. And your precision needs on this to be within 10,000ths of or thousandths of an inch. And so we measure it so that it's accurate within thousandths of an inch. And that seems like a really, really small, which it is, but all of my students last year had success on being able to do these projects. So you're held at a high standard, but from all the students we've been able to put through the program, they're all able to reach those very high standards. So it's a lot of time in the shop. It's a lot of time understanding technical drawings, understanding how things fit together. Those of you that feel that math is difficult for you, this is an amazing experience where we're not working on worksheets. You're actually doing the math and applying the math and understanding why you need to know the math. So don't worry about that. If you're a little math phobic, we'll get you through all of this. So the time, like Tracy was saying, we're there for 4 hours on those Thursdays, and the time just flies by. All of a sudden you look up and we're 2.5 hours into the class, and somebody says, hey, aren't we supposed to break for lunch? And we quickly break for lunch and then come back and finish out the last part of it. So that's sort of the basics of the classes.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. Now, after your first trimester of classes, did get that right. I forgot to change the thing about semesters because you're the only ones that go off for trimesters. But so during class, we're committed to connecting to industry through the company speakers, local manufacturing tours. So you get that first trimester of class underway. That way, Creed gets to know you. You know, Terry Derrick, who we'll hear from in just a little bit, will get to know you. Also, Amy will get to know you because she works with our employers. But then what we're going to do is we're going to look at you to make sure, are you job ready? Are you apprenticeship ready? So the big thing is to see, hey, are we going to feel confident putting you in front of an employer? And we'll talk about that in a little bit later on. But really, you know, you have to check in with to discuss the options of what life looks like for you after graduation too. Some people just want to stay in class and continue to earn college credit. Some might look at unpaid internship opportunities, but also look at apprenticeship opportunities that are available at that time. You might have to stay until after the second trimester, or sometimes opportunities might not be open until after graduation. And so through a whole year, we'll be working with you on those different things that are there. But the step 2 is the apprenticeship. So that is when you've either completed all 3 AJAC classes, or you're in the process of completing those. You're interviewing with AJAC employers that Amy works with. You complete 2,000 hours of the OJT on the job training. You earn your journey level credential. And again, you're either going on to college or you're going on to other training programs. You're doing something afterwards within the industry that's there. So the on-the-job training, when it comes to the production technician, it's like Creed did a great job of saying what those 3 classes look like while you're in the school year. But when I'm working, what are the things that I'm going to be working on? So we worked with a couple of employers for the last few years and said, hey, will you give us a time frame of what a production technician does in that 2,000 hours? So you can see where it's broke up here. For machining basics, CNC machining, machine setups, inspection, bench work. You know, deburr is where you're pretty much filing down different materials. A lot of you guys will start in deburr. That's a huge part of it. But a lot of it is, if you look at how machine shops are run, everything that you see here is all the aspects of what a machinist needs to do. So even though, you know, you think, well, how does it have to deal with me with assembly or inspection? They're all connected, which is a huge thing. So sometimes it's the basic work, sometimes it's more intricate work, but a lot of it is so you understand, you know, that the basic levels of what it makes to be a machinist to that production technician program that's there. I'm going to put Amy on the spot here for a second. Amy's been working with a lot of different employers around the area. And not even just in the Renton area, but all over the state. So she really works from King County down to Vancouver, King, Pierce County. She's got a big employee basis there. But Amy, tell the students and families some of the different employers that you've been working and connecting with, some of the cool stuff that's going on there in advanced manufacturing.
Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, obviously, as we talk about apprenticeship or aerospace being in our name, aerospace is kind of our original bread and butter. And we work with all the suppliers that make things for Boeing. Boeing assembles the plane, but all their parts and pieces are made at all these various suppliers around the Northwest. And some may make some little tiny part, some make some big part, but everybody has some little piece that they put together and make for aerospace. So we have a ton of aerospace companies that are making pieces and parts for planes. But a new and upcoming thing that we're really seeing is food processing. It's huge in Heather, our other RPM. It's huge in her area in Central Washington, as you would imagine. Apples, the fruits that are grown in Central Washington. Washington beef's a huge apprentice employer for us. But here in our side of the state, I just toured a tortilla factory. They make all the tortillas that you get in a Taco Time meal. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I saw where my Taco Time tortillas are being made, and I walked home with a nice fresh pack of tortillas. So we have a lot of really cool. And then I have another company that we're going to reach out to. They make cookies, Bite Me Cookies in Lakewood. So they're the things, anything you think of. And then we have great things like Blue Origin, who's making space parts. We have Machinist Inc., which is one of the largest machine shops in the state. They make all kinds of stuff for all kinds of people. They were making special kind of containers for trucks to hold glass in a truck. Then they were making these little tiny welding things for a space satellite. Then they're like, it's really interesting, all the different things that some places make you would never think of. So really kind of, you're going to have a wide variety of things to look at. We have another new apprenticeship or employer that works on Navy ships. They actually go on site onto the ships and will repair pumps or parts of their ships that need repairing. And you'll be on site on the boat itself. That's kind of cool. Or you'll be in their shop in Kent. So there's such a wide variety of things you can be a part of and work in this industry that you probably wouldn't even think of. But as Tracy said, if you look around your room, probably half the stuff you just look at has been manufactured somewhere. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. That's cool. Thanks, Amy. I will
Yeah.
definitely want to come to the cookie place, by the way. So
Right.
just a heads up on that one. So for the apprenticeship work schedule, so, we see you after the first trimester, second trimester, say if you're here during school. In some cases, students start their apprenticeship, they're on the job training while they're in school. Some will start after graduation. If you're under 18, we have a variance letter that covers you through safety. So apprenticeship and also teen worker safety all lives in L&I, the Department of Labor and Industries. So we worked with them years ago to get you approved to do all this cool stuff that you can do in a manufacturing company to make sure you're still covered in safety. There's a few things you can't do. You have to wait till you're 18. But so if you get hired and you're not 18 years old, that's okay, because we have the paperwork, all the filings to make sure that you can work and get hours. And then once you get hired, we'll walk you through that a little bit more so you and your parents or your guardians will understand what that means. You'll also work with your schools and your employers on your schedule for either worksite or work-based learning. With Renton School Districts, you guys have Worksite Learning, and Terry's going to talk about that here in a second. So that is where you can get credit for while you're working to go towards your school time that's there. Student requirements, let's talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to pass it off over to Terry to talk a little bit more about Worksite Learning. But this is what we look for in students. So you do need to be at least 16 years of age to start this program. So if you're 16 years old now, that's great. For this year, if you are turning 16, then we'd probably look at you for the next year's program, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Now we say a 2.0 GPA is suggested. Now, if you're at like a 1.8 and just say you had a bad semester or something was going on, still work with us and talk to us. We'll talk to your counselors to see, just if that GPA is coming up a little bit, if it was in fact just a bad a trimester that you had. We say past Algebra 1. I love how Creed did talk about the math aspect of this, because math is a big part of manufacturing. You don't need to love math, but you need to like math. And the cool thing is that your instructors, your mentors on the shop floor are going to teach you a different way to look at math. So if you can do decimals, you can do percentages, that's going to be a huge part of it. You're going to be measuring tolerances of a lot of different material that are out there. So an Algebra 1 is basically freshman math. So that's where you need to be at for your levels that are there. If you're someone who struggles a little bit in math, talk to us. You can also reach out to Creed to see if the struggles that you have are going to be pertinent to this class, or there's some things that you can work through. I use the example of one of our students at the Everett School District who flunked Algebra 1, had to retake it in the summer. He flunked Algebra 2, had to retake it in the summer. But when we put him in front of an employer, the employer really liked his drive and liked his enthusiasm. And he did so well. He actually just graduated this last spring from our program. So we did a tour at his shop and I pulled him aside and I was like, hey, what would you tell students in your shoes that struggled with math? And he said, it just takes somebody else to show you a different way to apply math. And I really wanted to understand this. And he goes, it was the parts of math that I liked. And they just said, here's how you look at it for your job. So, and a lot of adults have probably told you that when it comes to applied math, but that is a real true thing when it comes to manufacturing math. Educator recommendation, we're going to talk to your teachers to see how you are. Some of the educators are like, yes, maturity level, the student's ready for it. Some of them might say, you might need an extra year. Say if you're applying as a junior, they might want you to wait for you to apply as a senior. And it also is to make sure that you're ready for that work-life balance also. So the educators can let us know how you do in class. This is a big one, have transportation to and from the work site if the work path is chosen. So if you're going through this program and you're like, yes, I want to work, I want that apprenticeship, paid on the job training experience, you need to have transportation figured out. So if you're in the process of getting your license, your process of getting a car, that's great. We'll work with you on that. If you have no plan for that, you need to start thinking about that now. I know a lot of students work on the buses and that's great, but you have to also know the buses do take a little bit longer getting to the job site. And if for some reason that bus breaks down, you need to find a way to get to work. So this is also great conversations to have, with your family. And a lot of students that come to us are already starting to look for work. So their transportation has been talked about. But if we put you in front of an employer and you say, I don't know how I'm going to get here, we're going to take you out of the running until you have an idea of how you're going to get to and from. And that's where departments like what Terry does with the school district can also help you with some resources of getting your license, transportation, and all that jazz. Can you work in Washington State if the work path is chosen? You need to be eligible to work in Washington State. And then also the last one is pass a drug screen. This is a huge. When you're working in manufacturing, 90% of advanced manufacturing companies in Washington State do drug screenings, especially aerospace. If it flies, you can't be high. And there's this thing called traceability. So if anything happens in any kind of airplane, they have traceability back down to the smallest of parts. So if you are someone who partakes in that and you want to go into this industry, you have to make that decision in your life. Are you going to go plan A? You're going to go plan B, which is going to be the best thing for your future. That's my anti-drug talk for the night. Now I get to introduce to you for Worksite Learning, Terry Darrad with the Renton School District, and I'll let her tell you a little bit more about her official title, what she does with the school district, and how she partners with AJAC. Terry, hi.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I always share this story. My youngest son just journeyed out. That means he completed all of his apprenticeship. He just turned 29, but you know, at the age of 28, he was making $50 an hour because of going through the apprenticeship pathway. And so it is something that it's a different pathway to success. I say there's many, not just college. And so I want to let you know that I support it fully because my son is very successful with it. So my official title is Apprenticeship, Internship, and Worksite Learning Coordinator. And what I do with you guys is I work with the students and their counselors. So starting second trimester, see if maybe we can do an early release to do some, especially if you decide to go to work, because you are taking another class that's going to give you some high school credits. It's basically for every 5 college credits you get, you're going to get 1 high school credit. So we can give some relief from that. And if you are going to go and start your apprenticeship hours, I definitely can work with that. And you can then do worksite learning credit. Basically, that is every 180 hours that are qualified work hours, you may earn a half a credit. So you're earning more credits. And so as long as you are on the right path with your school's credits, we are able to help you continue with that a lot and to help you maybe lessen up your school schedule a little bit. Are there any questions?
Feel free to put in the chat any questions that you have, and we'll have another questions page pop up here. Thank you, Terry, for that.
Okay.
Terry pops into class like I do, so she'll be in there. We're always, if you're working, especially, we're coming after you for what your hours are and to record those. Frequently asked questions. Can AJAC guarantee jobs to students? Unfortunately, we cannot. So when students come up to me and say, when are you going to get me a job? I'm probably going to smile and nod. So what Amy does, myself and our other regional program managers, is they will put you in front of an employer, but it's up to you to get hired. What if I don't get hired after I graduate? Sometimes you might need to get another job just to get some job experience. I will tell you 9 times out of 10 for students that we can't place is because they just need job experience. So I worked with a student that just wasn't able to really stand out for a job. And we really suggested him to get something close to manufacturing. So he got a warehouse job, and that actually helped him a lot with his communication, how he presents himself in the interview. So, we can only do so much, but again, it's up to you to get hired. What if I go through the classes and don't want to work? I don't want to go into apprenticeship. I like that class that Creed was mentioning earlier. Those 3 classes are something in manufacturing I'd love to do. I want to go into engineering. I want to be a mechanical engineer. I want to go into, manufacturing management, or that's something I want to do. Absolutely. We have students that do this class, and that's why it's nice. We call it more, we're going from that youth apprenticeship branding to apprenticeship ready. That means you can put this on your resume and on your college, paperwork that said, I took this additional class when I was going to high school to help prepare me for advanced manufacturing. And these are the things that I've got. We have a few students that went into engineering programs after this. And it's funny because they're like, yeah, my admissions person wanted to talk a lot about the apprenticeship classes I took because they thought that was really cool. And it makes you stand out. So even if you're like, and you might go through the program and go, I really wanted to do apprenticeship, but now I want to go to college. Or you might go through the program and say, I really wanted to call to college, but now I like the idea of working. So, wherever you're going to thrive afterwards, myself, Creed, Terry, Amy, we all support that at the end. What's the deadline to sign up? That's going to kind of go with the number 5 question that we have coming up there, but we kind of have ongoing applications. We are on a tighter schedule right now to get you guys started so we can finish class by the end of the school year. And I'll talk about how to sign up in just a second. But number 5 is, when does class start? This is when I get to put the school district on there, but I don't know, Terry and Creed, have you guys kind of talked about a start date or anything that might work for you guys?
So I think that I contacted Terry at one point, like a week ago. If it's possible, I would love to start class on September 30th, Thursday, September 30th.
Okay.
If, Tracy, if you think that's possible to get the paperwork done, and if we can have enough of the students that are here get everything filled out that they need to do. I'm working with a lot of these students right now getting their OSHA 10 certification. So that part may be taken care of for a lot of them beforehand.
That's good. And you know what, that I was going to say, most of our, so, and just to understand, because of the weird year of COVID and online learning, all of our classes are starting a little bit later. So most of them are starting by the 1st of October. So September 30th is totally okay with us. So we're looking at about a week and a half, a little over a week to start this.
Yeah.
If for some reason you're like, gosh, I think my student or I could do this, and something happens for the 30th that you can't make it or you're going to be late, still talk to us. So that way we can get you, we can talk to you to make sure you can come in to do that. So the deadline to sign up, I would give everybody 1 week. So I would say if you can get signed up by next Monday night, that's 1 week to sign up. That would be great. So we can understand and see who we have for the numbers there. Terry, that sound good for you? Okay, she's giving us a thumbs up on that. So deadline would be 1 week, and I'll put that in the chat here in just a second. Where is class and what are the times? We did talk about that earlier. That's going to be at Lindbergh High School, and it's in Creed's class. And Creed, you tell them about how, when you go to class, how you get to your classroom that's there.
Our classroom, the shop classroom, for those of you that are from the other high schools, we are in the very north end of the school. When you're entering the school to go into sort of the main entrance, if you take the left up the little tiny hill before you get to the main entrance, there's a teacher parking lot, and you can park in that teacher parking lot in the back there, and I'll have the back door open. Usually I'll get I think the last couple of years, I've also gotten emails from who the students are. And those of you that don't go to Lindbergh, I can send you a map through email, through Outlook that way.
And we'll make sure, I sent that just directly to Dylan M and not to everybody, but the deadline is Monday, September 27th. So let me put that in the chat. Deadline to sign up is September. Gosh, I can't, because everyone's watching me type. That's why, September 27. Let's put your number lock. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, and we will send a reminder email out to everybody too. So by that Monday, Tuesday, we'll send something out that says, hey, welcome to the apprenticeship class. Here's how you get to class. Here's some reminders for that, for everything that you need there. So there's that there. What's next? So the next part is I need to apply. So this is my email for just questions that you might have, but to apply, you want to go to our website, and you can kind of shake your heads. How many of you guys have checked out our website at all? It can be a little bit of a rabbit hole because there's a lot of stuff on our website. Our marketing director is fantastic, and he even says there's a lot of stuff on our website. It's actually going through a retooling right now. But if you get a chance, check out some of our videos. We have some cool stuff that's on the website. But if you go to ajactraining.org/youth, that'll take you to the youth page. And on the right-hand side, there is a resource section that says youth application. It's a simple application. We've kind of dumbed it down a little bit this year. It's going to ask you your name, your school. It'll ask you if you can do a boot camp. Just say yes to that, because that's a little bit of a backwards thing that we're going to do this next year. And then that way I get all the applications. And so what I do is I share with Creed and with Terry who all has applied. So then that way you'll be able to see all the different applications that have come in. And if you are questioning it, like say if you're like, I'm still not sure and you want to try out a class just to see if it's going to be good, please come to the 30th, because that's going to be a huge part. When it comes to the size of classes, we kind of max out at that 10 or 12 when it comes to the students, but we also look at, we have a few students that might drop in that case. So small's okay, but we also don't go over that 12, 13 mark. Then what we need to do is we always still have like an intern that comes in to help, or a second teacher that also helps Creed in that case that's there too. Questions. Some of you guys have been asking questions in the chat. Thank you so much. I want to make sure I answered some of those. Deadline to sign up. So I did say that we're doing a week from tonight. So that will be on the 27th. If you have questions, you can always email me those. Terry did mention in there, you'll need a transcript. You may contact Terry for assistance at wsl@rentonschools.us. If you do get to class and you forgot to get the transcript, we'll work with you to get a copy of that transcript that's there. I think that was kind of it for questions on this. You know, some people will be like, so if I get this straight, it's a kind of a pseudo apprenticeship. You're taking apprenticeship classes, putting you in front of employment opportunities that go to apprenticeship hours. You know, what, and I always get asked this, why would I take this class? What's the benefit overall? Especially if you're not too sure where you're going to be when you, this is another, oh, this didn't get taken out. Sorry, guys. No, this is the different one that got saved. But don't worry about Heather, because she's not here with us as the Western person there. I'm going to hit stop share here. So, you know, one of the biggest things is that when you go to out in the real world, especially during COVID, they're going to be able to say, what did you do with your time? And that was this last year when we had to do like a pseudo class with everybody. We had parents that really said, thank you, because you gave our students something else to do when they were doing online learning. So that was a crazy thing in that aspect. But a lot of them really said, you know what, I get to put this on my resume and it makes me stand out. So that's a huge thing too. So what did you do with your time? I took an additional class on top of my regular days. I got hired at a company where I got some job experience, and it's all how you market yourself in the end. Creed, I just gave you a permission to share your page to show us what you've got going on there.
I just wanted to show the website and just to show everybody how to apply on the website, if that's okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so here we go. Where are we? There we go. Okay, so this is the AJAC website. If you just type in AJAC into a search, you're going to go to this page, ajactraining.org. And then up on this top, it says youth. You click on the youth up at the top, then it comes down here. And if you scroll down, it says youth application. Click on here, and this is the application that Tracy was talking about. So just filling this out. Oh, it has information about that. Just filling this out, and then once you submit this, then we'll have your information to be able to get back in touch with you after that. But this is where the application is.
So Creed, will you go back up, because someone had asked a good question about the military status. Can you scroll down a little bit? I think it says that if you are, there's districts there, parent guardian, keep going down a little bit more. Career technical education. Oh, military status. Click on that, see what it says for the thing there. I think it says you would put down non-vet. So that was just a generic thing that we had because we have some adults that are applying on there. It will ask about that boot camp question. We didn't get a chance to change that over. Just say yes on it. It's totally okay. Generally in a normal school year, we have a boot camp that we put you through the summer beforehand. Although next summer, we're going to open up our boot camp for our current students to do some classes and speeches, which is really good. So
Here's the question right here. Are you available for the summer boot camp?
perfect.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
Just put yes in there. A lot of what that is going through and working on your resume, getting your OSHA certification that a lot of you are doing anyways at your schools. So we're going to sort of cover a lot of those things anyways.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Because, you know, my technology trying to go between screens is like almost clown music playing in the background, trying to figure out how to switch screens back and forth.
Right. I don't need to do,
Terry, any other things that you want to add on at the last minute there?
yeah.
Yes, definitely reach out to Mr. Nelson or myself, and we'll be able to answer most of your questions. And I will come and introduce myself physically on the first day of class. But my main office is in Renton, but I service all 4 high schools. So You may be seeing me everywhere.
So, and Terry's email is in the chat. So if you can go back to
Yes.
chat, you can see hers that's there, and I'll make sure to double put mine in here for everybody.
Mhm.
So that way you guys have it for any questions. But yes, go to the AJAC website to apply. If you guys would like to have any more information, again, let us know. Send us any questions that you have. It's a big decision. I'm just going to give you guys a heads up. I'm actually going to be out Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and I will be off the grid. So I will have not, usually if I'm out, I'm checking emails or texts and everything. So if you do apply during Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you don't get an automatic response, please don't stress out. It's just because I won't have internet access. But when I'm back Sunday, I'll be going through all the applications and sending you just an email that's out there. Quick question, just to clarify, does your receipt also mean students accepted? Yes. If you apply, you're pretty much accepted. It's a contingent acceptance. Once we talk with the schools, make sure everything looks good for you, then you're good to go. What is the age requirement? You do have to be 16. So say for some reason you're not 16, you're 14 or 15 looking at this, please apply next year. So we will be going back into the schools again in February, March, talking in classrooms. I'll be going into Creed's classroom. I'll be going into your shop classes at Renton and over at Hazen to talk about the program. I have a student who's starting at a school who started seeing us as freshman year. I think he was just coming out of 8th grade, and he came to our open houses for 2 years in a row. And now he's finally coming into the program. So if you are a freshman, keep in touch, keep looking at this. And if you're a freshman, take those classes, those industry classes at your high school. If it's either Mr. Nelson's or if it's Briston's over at Hazen, and then who's down at Renton? I met him when I was in your class last time.
Donaldson.
Mr.
Yeah.
Donaldson.
Yeah. So make sure you guys sign up for those classes in the interim so you can get some good experiences there. I think I got everything there. Yes, Gavin, I got your question answered and everything. Thank you guys so much for coming and joining us tonight. And we had a good group tonight. This is great. And again, Arthur, tell your family we said hello. I love doing that to him whenever he's on sessions there. That's it. Amy, any other things you want to say before we sign off?
No, Creed, I'm following up you with those 3 students that you had previously. I'm just getting introduced to them, so I'll set up some meetings to talk to them and see what they're looking for.
So if they're seniors, please let me know who they are so that I can follow up too.
Yes, will do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop recording right now. Thank you guys again. And if you need anything else, let me know. I know some of you guys have questions in the chat. Don't log off yet because I'm just going to stop right now.